And what if choosing yourself means you lose someone you care for? Bria locked her gaze with Clara's, uncertainty threading through her veins. Then you have to ask if that person ever truly cared. Clara's breath hitched slightly, her eyes shimmering in the soft light. The distance between them narrowed, gravitational, ripe with charged emotion. Bria could see the flicker of vulnerability beneath Clara's composed exterior, begging for trust amidst betrayal. Bria? Clara's voice was low, filled with an unexpected softness that cracked the armor of their argument. Do you even know what it's like to feel that kind of betrayal? Bria challenged, the vulnerability turning into defiance as their faces drew closer. I do, Clara whispered, her breath a tender whisper of jasmine swirling around them, heavy with unspooled tension and an inkling of regret. But before Bria could respond, a boom of thunder shook the building, snapping them back to reality. Clara offered her a trace of a smile, a mix of pride and pain. You've grown stronger than you realize. Strength isn't just about bravado, Bria said softly, the heat of the confrontation stinging her cheeks like the fresh rain outside. It's knowing when to stand your ground and when to walk away. In that moment, the storm outside mirrored their internal tumult. A reckoning was approaching, and neither could hide from it. Clara nodded slowly, her resolve visible though her face remained composure. Then what's next for you? Brea paused, reflective, her heart beating a cadence of empowerment mingled with apprehension. I reclaim my narrative, and that starts now. Both women stood entwined in a fragile moment, heavy with unsaid sentiments, before Brea turned on her heel, each step echoing the path she was determined to forge alone. But even in the silence, the weight of their reckoning lingered. She had much to reclaim, and for now it was enough to know the storm inside her was not in vain. Scene 63. Frayed Ties. The storm raged outside, the wind howling as heavy rain lashed against the windows like an angry symphony. Inside, the air was thick with electric tension, as Bria and Akil faced each other in the dim light of the living room, shadows flickering ominously around them. The walls felt as if they were closing in, amplifying the cracks in their relationship. I deserve to know the truth, Akil, Bria said, her voice steady yet simmering with an undercurrent of pain. She crossed her arms, her fingers curling tightly in the fabric of her sleeves as if seeking comfort within herself. You can't keep things from me, not anymore. Akil stood a few steps away, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. He looked at her, his dark eyes reflecting the turmoil within. It's not as simple as that, Bria. His tone was low, cautious. You don't understand what's at stake. What's at stake? Bria echoed, disbelief flashing across her face. Is it your secret life? The one that made me a target? The one I'm supposed to accept without question? Friends don't go behind each other's backs. Silence filled the space, the storm outside momentarily drowned out by the gravity of her accusation. Akil opened his mouth, then shut it, weighing his words. The hesitation hung like thick fog, making each second stretch interminably. Do you really think I wanted any of this? Akil's voice broke the silence, a mix of frustration and sorrow simmering just beneath the surface. You think I planned to pull you into my world, that I'd risk your safety for what? His fingers pulled at his hair, frustration mounting as he stepped closer, his face just inches from hers. For what? My own satisfaction? I can't stand that you've kept me in the dark, Bria said, her voice rising, frustration blending with something deeper, a plea for understanding. Do you even know what that feels like? The air was thick with their unresolved feelings, as Bria caught a glimpse of the boyish charm Akil used to hide behind layers of pain. It flickered there in the hot intensity of his gaze, stirring something profound within her. She took a breath, brushing a loose curl behind her ear. Bria, look at me, he urged, his expression softening, the urgency in his eyes urging her to see beyond the present conflict. I did what I had to do. It was never about you. It was. He paused, searching for the right words. It was about survival. Your survival or mine? Bria shot back, heart pounding, feeling the weight of betrayal settle. I can't keep playing the role of the naive girlfriend while you wear a mask. I deserve more than to be a pawn on a chessboard. Akil's shoulders sagged, and the proud resolve in his stance crumbled just enough for her to see the vulnerability lurking underneath. You think I wanted this for you? He asked, voice dropping almost to a whisper. That I chose to toy with your life, your dream? As he stepped closer, Bria felt her heart race. No, she began, but the words faltered on her lips as he reached out, gently cradling her cheek in his palm. The warmth of his hand contrasted sharply with the coolness of the room around them, enveloping her in a rush of longing that both frightened and exhilarated her. He murmured, letting the weight of his gaze sink in. I swear I never wanted this pain to land between us. I wanted to protect you. The sincerity in his voice pierced her, making her heart ache. In that moment, they were both young and fragile, bound by a past that was slowly revealing itself like a tightly wound thread unraveling. But at what cost? She whispered, tears pooling in her eyes. What about trust? Akil's hand trembled slightly as he wiped the tears from her cheek, his breath heavy. This isn't just my story, is it? It's ours. She leaned into his touch, desperate to bridge the chasm that had grown between them. If we're in this together, just tell me the truth. I can handle it. I'm stronger than you think. Then I won't hide anymore. There was a palpable shift between them, electric and intense. I'll show you what you need to know, what you deserve to know. Before she could reply, a loud crash from outside interrupted them, shattering the intimate moment. What was that? Akil's expression darkened, tension snapping back into place. You hear that? Bria whispered, adrenaline sharpening her senses. As they exchanged a quick glance, a mutual understanding sparked in the stillness between them. Whatever lay ahead was steeped in uncertainty, but they would face it together, neither bound by silence nor secrets. Perhaps this time unity could be forged in the crucible of danger. Stay close, Akil commanded softly, apprehension mixing with a faint hint of determination. Always, Bria replied, feeling a renewed strength coursing through her veins. With space between their hearts beginning to close, they stepped into the storm together. Scene 64. Destiny unfolds. The storm clouds hung low over Brickhull, their heavy charcoal churn threatening to break at any moment. Raindrops began to drum against the sleek steel and glass buildings, a rhythmic echo that mirrored the racing thoughts in Bria Finch's mind. She stood at the expansive window of Akil Amari's penthouse, her silhouette a striking profile against the backdrop of the brewing tempest. Each fleeting flash of light over the Miami skyline made her pulse quicken, the swirling winds outside paralleling her emotional turmoil. Do you hear that? Akil's voice cut through the tension, pulling her attention away from the looming storm. He leaned against the kitchen island, arms crossed, watching her intently. The deep lines of his jaw were set, each muscle taut with unspoken anxiety. Bria turned, a soft laugh escaping her lips, tinged with incredulity. It's just the weather. I didn't realize you were so superstitious, Akil. You think this is just weather? He pushed himself away from the counter, his tall silhouette casting an imposing shadow as he approached her. There's more brewing than just rain today. We need to be ready, Bria. This isn't just about us, it's about survival. The seriousness in his tone cracked the playful facade she tried to uphold. I know what's at stake. She faced him fully now, the walls they had built around their hearts inching down. But we can't let fear dictate our movements. We need a plan. Right, a plan. He shot her a teasing smirk, but the gravity in his eyes betrayed a deeper concern. And what kind of plan do you propose? A tea party followed by a lovely escape? Bria rolled her eyes, crossing her arms to match his stance. Don't mock me. We can't just wait for them to come knocking at the door. We need to take action, and we need to do it together. You trust me? The question hung between them, heavy yet full of possibility. Akil stepped closer, his warmth radiating toward her like a shield. After everything? Do you want me to list the reasons why I shouldn't? Her tone was sharp, but underneath was something softer. You know how I feel about all of this. Then let's make it simple. He reached out, brushing a stray curl behind her ear. A spark ignited between them, an electricity that felt all-consuming. We expose the truth about the syndicate, and I'll deal with the consequences. You'll be safe. Bria's breath caught as she stared into his deep-set eyes, filled with promises of protection, but also of danger. And what if they retaliate? His lips twisted into a half-smile that was equal parts charming and wicked. Let them come. I've been through hell and back. He stepped even closer, their bodies inches apart. but I don't want to go through any more without knowing you're right there with me. The tension in the air thickened, as did the storm outside. A low rumble of thunder shook the windows, and she wasn't sure if it was the weather or the growing heat between them that set her heart racing. What if this leads us into something deeper, Akil? We're already treading on dangerous ground. Then we'll tread together. He reached out, his calloused fingers grazing her wrist, making her skin tingle. Ever since we met, I've wanted you to be a part of my world. I never realized just how much I needed you by my side until now. A soft laugh escaped her at his confession, colored with nervousness. You've got a funny way of showing it, you know? Humor is my coping mechanism. He leaned closer, his breath mingling with hers. Now tell me, am I worth the risk? Her heart thundered in her chest, and the rain started to pound harder against the windows, as if echoing the rhythm of her thoughts. Yes, she whispered, the truth slipping through the chasm of doubt that had held her captive for so long. Yes, you are worth every risk. Before another word could be uttered, the sound of shattering glass echoed from the hallway, pulling them both back to reality. The moment shattered, replaced by an urgent adrenaline that surged within them. Stay behind me. Akil's voice deepened, a mix of protectiveness and authority, as he moved toward the source of the sound. Every muscle in his body coiled tight, ready to spring. The storm outside raged on, but within the apartment, a new kind of storm began to brew, one fueled by fear and resolute determination. Bria stepped to Akil's side, her heart racing but her spirit ignited. Whatever happens, we face it together. He nodded, a glimmer of admiration and something more flowing between them. Together. In the chaos, their bond crystallized, ready or not, their destinies were intertwined. Scene 65. Emotional barriers. The storm outside rattled the windows of their secluded mansion, thunder rumbling like an angry tenant in the depths of the ocean. Inside, the air was charged with the intoxicating blend of anticipation and vulnerability that lingered between Bria and Akil. I just don't understand why you felt the need to keep it a secret, Bria said, her voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of hurt. She stood with arms crossed, the flickering candlelight casting shadows that danced across her determined face. You think I wanted this? Akil countered, running a hand through his tousled hair, his eyes reflecting the unease of the oncoming tempest. This isn't just about us, Bria. There are forces out there that won't stop until they get what they want. Bria took a deep breath, fighting her frustration. And what if I'm not what they want? What if I'm just a pawn in their game? The vulnerability in her tone was palpable, slicing through the tension like a knife. Akil stepped closer, the heat of his body radiating warmth amidst the chill. You're not a pawn. You're... He paused, the words choking him. You're everything I didn't know I needed. A tremor of silence enveloped them, swaying gently like the flickering light of the candles. Bria looked up, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Then why doesn't it feel like that? Why does it feel like I'm walking on a tightrope waiting for the inevitable fall? Because you've built emotional barriers, Bria. Akil said gently, his gaze piercing through the layers of her armor. You've been hurt before, and I can't promise you won't be hurt again, but I can promise to stand by you. Can you? Her voice trembled on the words, revealing the fissures in her perfectly constructed facade. What if I fall for you and you disappear? What if you're just another distraction? The storm outside crescendoed, punctuating the weight of Bria's fears. Akil reached out, brushing a stray hair behind her ear, the tender gesture tenderly grounding her. I won't disappear. His voice softened. You're not just a distraction to me, you're my reality. I want to believe that. She leaned into his touch, seeking solace in the warmth of his palm. The air thickened with an unspoken electricity, an awareness blossoming between them, igniting a palpable yearning. You need to believe it, Bria. You're stronger than you know, Akil encouraged, his heartbeat matching the rhythm of the storm outside. You've faced demons larger than this, and I'm not going to let them take you from me. He closed the distance, breath mingling, both hesitant and hungry. Sensing his proximity, Bria's breath quickened, igniting the embers of their hidden desires. Akil looked into her eyes, searching for permission, his heart pounding like a drum against the backdrop of the tempest. Let me show you, he whispered, the words a promise that sent ripples of both terror and anticipation through her veins. With a barely perceptible nod, Bria surrendered to the moment, her emotional barriers crumbling like old stone beneath the weight of his gaze. Akil leaned in, capturing her lips with his, a union that sparked like fire meets oil, crackling with both tenderness and an unrelenting urgency. As the storm raged outside, everything faded away: the worries of the world, the fears of betrayal, and the uncertainties of tomorrow. There was only the intoxicating heat of his kiss and the palpable connection that surged between them, a bond forged from the flames of vulnerability and desire. Time stretched infinitely as they lost themselves in that kiss, each heartbeat merging with the thunder's roll, a crescendo of emotions. It was a promise, a warning, and a beginning all at once. Finally, as they broke apart, breathless and flushed, Bria whispered, "Maybe it's worth the risk." With hope flickering like the candlelight around them, Akil managed a soft smile, the shadows of their past lingering but no longer holding them hostage. Instead, they stood united, ready to confront the storms together. Scene 66, Veiled Intentions. The storm rumbled in the distance, sending echoes through Bria Finch's high-rise apartment. She stood near the kitchen island, precariously balancing a bowl of kale salad and a glass of Pinot Noir, the irony of preparing dinner doing little to distract her from the whirlwind brewing both inside and outside. The tang of lemon zest lingered in the air, undercut by the tense shadows creeping over her thoughts. Across the room, Akil Amari leaned against the doorway, arms folded, his brow knitted in concern that matched the growing darkness outside. He watched her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken, the warmth of the space contrasting with the cold dread gnawing at her stomach. "Are you okay?" he asked, voice low, pulling her out of the haze like an anchor in turbulent waters. Brea offered a half-hearted smile, stirring the salad with a bit more vigor than necessary. "Yeah, just prepping for dinner." She let the words hang, hoping they'd be enough, but the telltale clench of her jaw betrayed her. Akil stepped forward, daring to break the physical distance between them. "You're not just prepping dinner, you're about to win an award for Best Actress in a Drama." His playful smirk tugged at her heartstrings, drawing her eyes up to meet his. A ghost of a laugh escaped her lips, but even she could hear the tremor in it. "Is it that obvious?" "Pretty much. What's going on?" His gaze sharpened, flickering with the weight of something unspoken, a confidentiality that simmered beneath the surface. Bria placed the salad down, heart racing as she faced him, the gravity of her discovery that afternoon flooding back to the forefront of her mind. It was never just about the kale. She wanted to tell him about her mentor, the sinister web of manipulation that put not only her career in jeopardy, but those she loved, especially Akil. Before she could speak, the doorbell chimed, breaking the moment. The two exchanged glances, a mix of relief and trepidation flashing through them. Akil's protective instincts came alive as he moved towards the door, and Bria followed, her heart pounding in her chest. As the door swung open, it revealed Soraya, a vibrant presence in a cerulean maxi dress, her laughter like sunlight streaming in after a storm. "Knock, knock. I brought wine and gossip. You can't keep me at bay during a crisis." A hearty laugh spilled from her lips, but to Bria it felt too bright against the encroaching darkness. "Right on time as always," Akil said, stepping aside to let her in, though his eyes flicked back to Bria, cautious yet tender. Soraya squeezed through, immediately reaching for the salad bowl. "What's cooking? I hope it's not your unique strain of culinary terror." "Oh, come on," Bria protested, though a smile crept onto her face. Soraya's lightheartedness had a magical ability to cut through tension, like the scent of fresh basil soaring over a dish. The three of them settled into an easy banter, wrapped in an unspoken connection. Still, Bria's mind was racing, consumed with conflicting thoughts of attraction to Akil and the weight of the hidden truths haunting her. She could feel Akil's sharp gaze on her, his words still echoing, "What's going on?" As Soraya regaled them with the latest rumors from the neighborhood, a love affair among the local professionals, Bria could barely focus. Instead, she found herself drawn to the warmth radiating from Akil, who leaned close, clearly amused yet keenly aware of her unease. "Bria," he murmured, voice low enough to be just for her, "you can't keep avoiding this." His proximity sent a thrill racing through her. Everything about him felt electric, the way his warm breath caressed her ear, igniting a passion that surged beneath her skin. She turned towards him, searching his deep-set eyes, the storm of emotions battling within her. "Things are complicated right now," she finally confessed, her voice barely above a whisper, but thick with meaning. Complicated like a well-charred steak, or complicated like betrayal? Definitely the latter. She could feel her heart race, light and heavy all at once, caught between wanting to push him away and pull him closer. And then, suddenly, the kitchen fell silent. Soraya had shifted, caught up in her phone, leaving the two of them in a tension-filled space, charged yet fragile. Akil leaned in closer, the raw magnetism of him irresistible. "Whatever it is, I'm here," he said softly, his sincerity wrapping around her. Always. In that moment, everything else faded. The distance melted away as she reached for him, their lips meeting with an intensity that sent waves crashing through her, a promise and a reckoning all at once. It felt right, thrilling, yet terrifying as the truth loomed over them like the storm overhead. And just as the kiss deepened, a rumble of thunder echoed in the distance, mirroring the tempest within her heart. In that breathless moment, the world outside ceased to exist. But there were shadows lurking, and deep down, she knew that once the storm cleared, the truth would have to be faced. Scene 67. A heart divided. The tempest gathered outside, the rain slapping against the sharpened edges of the glass windows like an impatient lover. Bria stood in the small, dim room she'd claimed as her refuge, an iron-wrought coffee table cluttered with newspaper clippings about her latest social justice campaign. The room was a cacophony of color against the gray storm, yet she felt achingly incomplete. The air was thick, not just with humidity, but with the weight of unsaid words. She was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, concealed beneath a veneer of resolve. She had always been passionate, her heart spilling over with ideals of justice, of righting wrongs. And yet, the way Akil's laughter ignited her soul left her dizzy and enchanted. The mere thought of him sent ripples through her, a mingling of joy and terror that left her breathless. What lay hidden in their connection? Each smile shared held an undertow of something profound, something she hadn't yet dared to explore. With a lurch, she dropped a newspaper article about crime syndicates onto the rug. Panic threatened to seize her as she wrestled with the shadows of her past, colliding with the brightness of her present. "He can't know," she murmured, as if the walls themselves might betray her. The echo of her own words haunted her. What if he found out about the opportunistic choices she made before him? Bria pressed her fingers to her temple, clenching her jaw tightly as looming doubts twisted in her gut. The door swung open with a sudden force, and Akil stepped into the room, his imposing presence instantly filling the air. He was warm and alive with a magnetic energy, his eyes catching the light, a lively dance of mischief and seriousness, but there was an unrest simmering beneath his brave demeanor. She could see it. "Are we going to keep standing here like strangers?" he quipped, his voice teasing yet edged with something deeper. "Or are we just drawn together by a series of unfortunate events?" Bria replied, a fragile smile forming on her lips. She tilted her head, gauging his reaction, caught between her instinct to deflect and the undeniable allure of his proximity. Akil stepped closer, and the world outside faded into obscurity. "Bria, I'm not scared of the storm," he said, allowing the confidence in his voice to tether them in the air thick with tension. "But it's what's within that has me worried." His words hovered, heavy and laden with meaning. She swallowed hard, tasting both the love she felt for him and the potential dagger that hung unsheathed. Her dark secrets were a tempest of their own. "Is it really me you're worried about, or is it the past that shadows me?" She could see the conflict swirling in his expression, a clenched fist being her only response. "Tell me what's on your mind, Akil. Don't dance around the truth." He stared into her eyes, the intensity of his gaze feeling like an electric charge that hummed between them. "I can't. I'm still piecing it all together." His fingers brushed against hers, light, hesitant, yet charged with a promise of something deeper. "Bria, we're stepping into dangerous waters, and I need to know I can trust you." Behind him, the elements roared, winds howling as if urging him to retreat, to flee. But he remained steadfast, as if anchored in place by her very essence. The alluring friction danced between them like fire. "Trust works both ways," she said softly, the weight of a confession pressing against her chest. "You have your secrets too, and a lot rests on those foundations. Can I hold on to the belief that you wouldn't betray?" His gaze flared, teeth clenched as he drew closer still, infringing on the space that felt both impossibly close and painfully distant. "What if I told you I'm trying to protect you and myself from whatever lies ahead?" Brea's heartbeat thrummed loud in the silence that ensued, a drum of conflicting desires. She leaned in instinctively, her breath mingling in the tiny pocket of air between them that sparked electric with anticipation. "Then let's fight this," she whispered, touching her hands to the fabric of his jacket, feeling the warmth radiate. Together. A flicker of vulnerability crossed his face, and for a heart-stopping moment, she saw the man beneath the bravado. Akil's resolve softened as he brushed a thumb across her cheek, grounding her in the storm of their emotions. "Always together, Bria," he replied, the sincerity in his tone wrapping around her like a cocoon against the tempest outside. Still, an undercurrent of unsaid words lingered, a chaotic whisper in the back of her mind that threatened to unravel it all. Scene 68, Crash Course in Betrayal. The storm raged outside, torrential rain pooling in the street, echoing the tempest within Bria Finch's heart. A flickering overhead light cast shadows on the cracked walls of the cafe where she stood across from her mentor, Juniper Wells. The air smelled thick with the scent of roasted coffee beans and damp wood, a tantalizing mix that did little to soothe Bria's mounting anxiety. "Did you ever think your precious connections would betray you?" Juniper's tone was sharp, an angry whisper that cut through the hum of the cafe's ambient noise. Her dark eyes glowered like storm clouds, reflecting a world of disappointment and simmering anger. Bria squared her shoulders, fists clenched at her sides, a thin layer of mist forming on the window beside her. "You know that's not fair, Juniper. You think I asked Akil to pull strings? He's been nothing but supportive." "Supportive?" Juniper scoffed, arms crossing defensively. "You're still living in a fairy tale, honey. You think his connections won't come hunting when the tide turns? You think I don't know how this business works?" Bria's heart raced, frustration bubbling to the surface. "And what would you know about my life? I've fought tooth and nail to get to where I am, especially since—" She paused, the weight of her own past stinging like the pelting rain against the glass, "especially since I've learned to trust again." "They don't care about you, Bria. You're just a pawn in a game they've been playing long before you entered the board." Juniper flung a hand toward the window, where raindrops raced against each other, mimicking the urgency that surged through Bria. Bria pushed back tears, refusing to let the ocean of betrayal drown her. "If I'm a pawn, what does that make you? You endorsed this path, pushed me toward him. Now it feels like you want to erase everything we built together." Juniper sulked against the counter, her posture shifting from aggressive to vulnerable, as if the storm outside pulled down her defenses too. "I just want to protect you. When I saw you with Akil, I thought you'd found someone worth trusting, but he's not who you think he is." "Neither are you," Bria shot back, her voice gaining strength. "You've been withholding truths just as much." The words hung in the air like smoke, creating a chasm of distrust between them. Just then, as if on cue, a loud crash echoed from the back of the cafe. Several patrons scrambled to gather themselves, laughter mingling with the chaos. A group of Bria's friends stumbled through the door, Marissa, Rafe, and Eli, drenched but alive with energy, unaffected by the dark mood swirling around Bria and Juniper. "Bria, you should have seen the way we ran from that downpour." Marissa laughed, shaking out her frizzy hair, unfurling droplets like diamonds. "We could use a drink. What do you say?" "Maybe later," Bria mumbled, her heart still heavy. "Well, we can't leave without honoring your big success, right?" Rafe chimed in, elbow awkwardly nudging her side while he rummaged through his backpack. "Got the best wine this side of the street. Juniper, wah, you're looking intense. Pulling the whole death stare look today." Eli quipped, raising a brow at the tension. Each word they flung brought a momentary reprieve from the storm within, but the clouds hovered relentlessly. Juniper rolled her eyes, drawing herself up with an air of dignity. "You people are a little too carefree for your own good. Life is messier than you think. Yeah, but it's also a blast, Marissa replied, a grin stretching ear to ear. You just gotta dive in. Wouldn't you agree, Bria? The warmth from her friends sparked something within Bria. She turned back to Juniper, searching for even a sliver of the bond they'd shared. I need to know I'm not just a game piece in your narrative either. Can we survive without backhanded truths? The rain outside hammered against the cafe, and for a moment, Juniper looked small, human. I just don't want to see you get hurt. The air shifted, the energy in the room palpable as Bria stepped forward. If I'm diving in, I need you with me, fully. Can we commit to that? A flicker of uncertainty crossed Juniper's face as their eyes locked, a shared moment of honesty amidst the chaos. You can't decide for me, Bria. Just know that the storm isn't just outside, Juniper replied softly, vulnerability creeping through her fierce facade. Let's face it together, Bria said, reaching out to bridge the gap. Outside, the thunder cracked, reminding them both that chaos reigned unfiltered. As she took Juniper's hand, the air between them felt charged, and for the first time, it wasn't just an argument, but a vow against the wind and rain. Now, Bria said with a determined smile, let's see who can outlast this downpour. Scene 69, beneath the surface. Bria stood in the dim light of Akil's loft, the smell of burnt coffee curling around her like fog, an odd juxtaposition to the tempest raging outside. Rain lashed against the tall windows, creating an urgent backdrop as she faced him, arms crossed, the weight of unspoken words heavy between them. Did you ever think about telling me the truth? Bria's voice trembled, infused with both anger and hurt. Akil ran a hand through his thick curls, his expression indecipherable, drawn taut with conflict. What truth are you talking about? He replied, voice low, a hint of caution in his tone. The silence that hung in the air was thick enough to slice through. Outside, thunder rumbled, mirroring the storm brewing between them. Bria stepped closer, the distance closing as her heart raced. The truth about the deal, Akil. The one that made my career. You pulled the strings on that, didn't you? He averted his gaze, the flickering candlelight highlighting the tension in his jaw. I didn't. But you did, she interrupted, her voice rising. Bria felt the tight coil of betrayal deep in her chest. You were the one behind the curtain, orchestrating everything, and I was just a pawn in your game. His dark eyes met hers then, a tempest in their depths. That's not how I see it, Bria. It was a chance, a risk we both needed to take. You had the talent. I knew that. His frustration fizzed in the air, turning fiery. You think I wanted to manipulate you? I was trying to help. Help or control? Bria laughed bitterly, the sound sharp against the rain's patter. Her emotions flared, pain fueling her ire. Do you think I'm incapable of standing on my own? Do you think I thought I was worth anything without your help? Bria, that's not. Then what is it? She shot back. You come into my life, charming me, making me feel special, but underneath that, she gestured wildly, you're playing a dangerous game. A long silence enveloped them, layered with tension. Akil seemed caught in a web of thoughts just as dense as the rain drumming on the windows. Finally, he stepped closer, the ferocity ebbed as he softened, his voice lower, more sincere. I didn't want you to feel used. But this world we're in, it's not straightforward. It's perilous. The only thing I feel is betrayed, Bria whispered, her voice barely above the storm's roar. Just then, the door burst open, and Janelle entered, unwittingly interrupting the charged atmosphere. She was drenched, shaking off raindrops like a startled bird. There you are, she exclaimed, breathless. I was looking for you too. I think you'd better. Janelle, Akil snapped, the heat of the earlier argument flaring again. Can't you see we're in the middle of something? I get that, but I just got a call. Janelle's face was pinched with urgency. The Crossley syndicate is stirring. They know something about the deal. Bria exchanged a glance with Akil, their quarrel momentarily silenced by the looming danger. The tension shifted from personal to perilous with a single sentence. Are they targeting us? Bria asked, heart pounding, adrenaline flooding her senses. Not just us, Janelle replied, her tone serious. I think they're counting on ruffling feathers and drawing blood. There's no telling how deep their claws could reach. Akil ran a hand along his jaw, a sharp exhale escaping his lips. We need to move then. Get our people out of the line of fire. Right, Bria said, her resolve hardening against the onslaught of emotions. But first, she turned to Akil, the lingering anger mingling with concern. We need to talk this through. All of it. A talk can wait, Janelle interjected, glancing at the darkening clouds outside. Life and death won't. They stood there, the air thickening with uncertainty, but beneath the tension was an unbreakable thread of connection, fragile yet resolute. Akil caught Bria's gaze, a flash of understanding passing between them, as they both realized the stakes had just risen higher than their quarrel. All right, he said, nodding once, eyes burning with newfound urgency. Let's figure this out together. And in that moment, Bria could feel the remnants of their argument slipping behind them like shadows, eclipsed by something more urgent, the need to survive. Scene 70, Rebuilding Trust. The dimly lit room hummed with the tension of unsaid words and the charged atmosphere of possibility. Bria Finch stood at the center, her posture strong yet delicate, fingers brushing against the cool granite countertop. The weight of the day's earlier confrontations hung heavily in the air. Distrust loomed like a storm cloud over the gathering, consisting of Akil's associates. They eyed her warily, calculating the worth of the woman who dared step into their intricate world. All right, listen up, Bria began, her voice cutting through the murmur of skepticism. She held their gazes, one after the other, her fierce resolve shining like a beacon. I'm not here to play games. If we're going to get through what's coming, we need to work as a unit. The room fell silent, the only sounds the occasional flicker of air conditioning and the faint crackle of paper from one of the men. Leon, who sat with his feet casually on the coffee table, an eyebrow quirking in disbelief. And what exactly qualifies you to lead us? He challenged, a smirk barely contained on his lips. Bria pinched her lips together, steadying herself against the swell of frustration. Her heart raced, the faint scent of strong coffee permeating her senses, grounding her. I've dealt with worse than you can imagine, she replied, her words a knife honed to a fine point. I can outthink and outmaneuver the best of them. Akil lingered by the doorframe, arms crossed, visage a blend of admiration and anxiety. The way she held herself, the fire igniting in her eyes, he couldn't help but feel pride intermixed with dread. Could she truly hold her own against the currents of danger that swirled around them? Prove it, Leon countered, thick arms sprawling wide in challenge. The gauntlets were thrown down, and the rest of them leaned in, heartbeats quickening in anticipation. Fine, Bria said, a small smile lurking around the corners of her mouth. It was both a promise and a dare. What fun do you gentlemen choose to indulge in when the stakes are high? Let's bring this to the next level. A flurry of whispers swept through the group as she detailed a strategic teaming approach to face their adversaries, her voice oscillating with an infectious passion. Akil watched, his pulse steadying, realizing her connections were as vast and intertwining as the intricate designs on the brocade wallpaper behind him. Just as Bria reclaimed her breath, a door swung open with a bang, smashing the budding tension. In burst Jada, a sprightly agent known for her knack for sniffing out trouble, a phone pressed against her ear. Guys, it just got crazier, she shouted, urgency propelling her forward. They're moving on us now. The shift in the atmosphere was palpable. Voices raised, frantic strategies exchanged as Bria sank her resolve deeper. In the swirl of chaos, she caught Akil's eye, a moment interrupting the noise, the world behind them fading momentarily. She strode towards him, each step an affirmation of her intent, her features softened as they closed the distance. Listen, about us, she started, the background noise fading like a whisper of fog in the morning light. The air thickened, and he leaned closer, their breaths mingling, eyes locked like steel under tension. There's a lot at stake, he murmured, voice low and gravelly. His proximity sent sparks dancing upon her skin, the warmth in his presence coaxing a promise of intimacy behind the urgency. I know. Just trust me, she breathed, a lingering glance sharpening their connection. We'll get through this together. Bria leaned in, their lips barely hovering above one another, the anticipation creating a palpable heat, like summer's last breeze before dusk. She felt the intensity of his heartbeat echo against her chest, the world quieting even amidst the steadying chaos around them. In that moment, vulnerability flowed between them, grounding them like roots to the earth. Then let's fight, he breathed, brushing his lips lightly against hers. Neither a kiss nor a promise, but something that spoke of shared battles, trust woven into the fabric of their beating hearts. Together, Bria whispered back, feeling the world spinning around them in cyclone-like fervor, yet holding steady in the eye of their storm. As they pulled apart, breathless, the fragile truce of their silence shattered with the echoed calls to action around them. "Let's go!" shouted Leon, positioning himself by the door, rallying the others. The room shifted back to a tension filled with anticipation and determination, a whirlwind of bodies in motion, yet each carried with them the unbreakable bond of unity, irrevocably transformed by a moment that bridged desire and trust. Scene 71, Burning Bridges. The storm clouds loomed over the city, a thick blanket of gray that swallowed the sunlight and cast a lingering gloom across the rooftop terrace. Bria stood at the edge, the wind tousling her hair, the smell of rain mixing with the sharp tang of adrenaline that clung to her skin. She leaned on the railing, her heartbeat echoing louder than the distant rumble of thunder. The city sprawled beneath her, alive yet threatening, each flicker of movement a reminder of the dangers lurking just out of sight. Akil approached, his silhouette emerging from the door like a shadow stepping into the light. He wore his usual confidence like armor, but the brooding intensity in his eyes hinted at a tempest brewing within. His jaw clenched tight as he stepped closer, the tension between them palpable, a tightrope strung with fear and unspoken words. "Bria," he said, his voice low and laced with urgency, "this isn't just about us anymore." She turned to him, her expression a mix of defiance and desperation. "What is it then, Akil? You keep dancing around the truth like it's a waltz at some grand ball. Lives are at stake, including ours." He ran a hand through his hair, frustration spilling over. "I know. Don't you think I feel it too? Every move we make sends ripples through both syndicates, and it's getting harder to keep our heads above water." Bria stepped back, her heart racing. "You're the one who started this whole mess. You pulled the strings, and now I'm tangled in it." A dangerous silence wrapped around them, thick and suffocating, as if the storm itself were holding its breath. Akil's gaze hardened, but behind the iciness, she caught a flicker of regret. "You don't understand. I did it to protect you." "Protect me?" She shot back, incredulous. "Or control me? You know what I fought to achieve in this life. Why can't you trust I can handle this?" "Because," he began, fists clenching, "you don't see the threats outside these walls. Every ally is potentially a mole. Why do you think I didn't tell you right away? To keep you safe." Bria took a step forward, her eyes blazing. "And what if I don't want to be kept safe, Akil? What if I want to fight alongside you? I deserve to know what's really happening." The storm echoed her emotions with a crack of thunder. The rain began to fall, soft at first, then building into a relentless downpour. Bria lifted her chin defiantly, the droplets drawing rivulets down her skin, merging with the fire of her dissent. "You focus too much on protection, and not enough on our partnership." Akil closed the gap between them, his voice urgent yet tender. "I can't lose you. You don't know what's at stake for both of us. It's one thing to battle my enemies. It's another for you to be caught in crossfire." "Then we stop pretending," she shouted, just as the rain came crashing around them. "If we don't confront our issues together, what are we even doing?" His eyes searched hers, the tension crackling like the storm above. With a sudden, decisive motion, he cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs grazing her cheeks. The world around them faded, the argument and chaos twisting into a moment thick with possibility. He leaned closer, the warmth of his breath mingling with the cold rain, creating a brief cocoon of warmth. "Bria," he murmured, as if her name were a prayer. Their faces hovered together, her heart racing against the storm. It was a fragile space between turmoil and something more profound, a connection threaded with desperation and longing. "Don't you can't," she whispered, yet their lips were drawn together, the kiss a force against the elements. It was a blend of passion and urgency, the moment transcending the surrounding storm, binding them together through the tumult and uncertainty. The laughter of the city below emerged faintly, seeming to mock the gravity of their situation. Yet in this moment, surrounded by chaos, they found a clarity. In the heart of turmoil, they would endure. "I won't let this break us," Akil finally breathed against her lips, the fervor of his conviction melding with hers, rain soaking them both, emboldened by the choice that lay before them. Scene 72. Tracing the threads. The air in the dimly lit room crackled with tension, where shadows clung to the walls like secrets, waiting to be uncovered. Akil leaned against the edge of a weathered oak table, his arms crossed, his brow furrowed in concentration as he looked at Bria, who stood with her hands on her hips, tapping her foot impatiently. "Do you really think I'm just going to let this slide?" she challenged, her voice rising slightly, a mixture of defiance and hurt. "We've seen the signs, Akil. This isn't just petty rivalry. Something big is brewing." Akil pushed himself off the table, pace quickening. "I know that, but you're diving headfirst without considering the stakes. Your life is worth more than any vendetta." Bria's eyes flashed with indignation, the tension morphing into something electric between them. "It's easy for you to say that. You're not the one pinned under a microscope while your name is whispered like a ghost in the streets. I can't back down, not when I can gather intel for us. Hiding won't solve anything." With a resigned sigh, Akil moved closer, a hint of frustration etching his striking features. "And you think leading them right to you will help? You're not invincible, Bria. What's the point of being brave if it means throwing yourself into the jaws of a beast unarmed?" "You really think I can't handle myself?" she snapped, unaware of the fight brewing behind her passionate facade. "The question isn't whether you can handle it," he said softly, his voice dropping an octave, almost tender. "It's whether I can handle losing you." There was a slight tremor in his voice as he spoke, a rare glimpse of vulnerability that made Bria still, her bravado faltering for a moment. The flickering candlelight caught the warmth in his eyes, and she shifted, wrestling with the unexpected swell of emotion within her. "You can't talk like that. You have to stay sharp, Akil. You get lost in the feelings sometimes." He stepped closer, closing the gap, the air thick with unspoken words. "I'm not lost, Bria. I'm just anchored to you. Whether we face it together or not, I care more than I should." Suddenly, the back door swung open with a creak, and from the doorway, Cassie entered, her face flushed as if she had just run a marathon. "You two need to see this," she exclaimed, glancing quickly between them, the urgency in her tone slicing through the moment. "What is it?" Akil asked, annoyance creeping back into his voice, forgetting the sweetness of the prior moment. Cassie rushed forward, holding up her phone. "We've got a thread that connects trans guys with Malachi's syndicate. Look," she waved her phone, revealing a series of incriminating messages pulled up on the screen. Bria leaned over, studying the screen intently, all previous arguments evaporating into focus. "This could be the missing link we needed," she said, her voice laced with excitement. "Their alliance could shift everything," Akil murmured, pulling away from Bria, his strategy instinct kicking in. "Control of both territories might mean they plan to come after us directly. Or it means they'll fight each other while we slip through the cracks," Cassie suggested optimistically, but Bria saw the uncertainty masked behind her bravado. Bria straightened up, her resolve hardening. "I still want to confront Tran. We need to protect ourselves." A tense silence fell as everyone exchanged glances, the weight of their combined decisions hanging heavily in the air. "You might need backup for that," Akil finally said, and the world slowed as Bria met his gaze, something flickering between them that felt both dangerous and tantalizing. Bria tilted her head slightly, her smile turning mischievous, as if she dared him to share that moment with her. "Backups can be overrated, Akil." She stepped closer, their shoulders brushing, igniting the space between them like a spark in dry timber. "Besides, this time, I want to be the one leading." Akil leaned in, the air between them charged with unspoken promises. "Just remember, I'm right beside you. Always." As the gravity of their situation loomed larger, laughter erupted from the other side of the room. A group of friends had filed in, their banter cutting through the thick tension. "Anyone have the makings for popcorn? Because this feels like the start of some serious drama," Tony joked, clapping his hands together. The moment faded slightly, but not before Bria caught Akil's lingering gaze, a mixture of admiration and a silent challenge, the threads connecting them tightening in the chaos around them. "Get in line, Tony, because this show is just getting started," Bria responded, her spirit undeterred as she opened the door to confrontation, allies, and all the love that came with it. Scene 73. reflecting on choices. The air crackled outside, a chaotic storm lashing against the windows of the dimly lit room. Bria Finch stood by the large bay window, the rain cascading in torrents that blurred the urban skyline. The rhythmic pounding of raindrops mirrored her heartbeat, erratic, chaotic, a stark reminder of the turmoil that surrounded them. The sky, painted in shades of gray, was heavy with unspoken words and dark memories. She hugged her arms, trying to contain the turmoil within her. Akil Amari lounged on the edge of the ebony dining table, his broad shoulders relaxed but eyes sharp, tracing the silhouette of Bria. The flickering candlelight danced across his face, revealing both his charisma and the deeper shadows that marked him. "You think this storm is going to clear up anytime soon?" he asked, allowing his gaze to rest on the relentless rain. Bria turned slightly, gaze still focused on the tempest outside. "It's a reflection of our choices, don't you think?" she said, her voice steady, though the words quivered like the candle flames. "We wanted excitement, adventure." She paused, swallowing hard against the weight of her truth. "Now we're facing the consequences." "Consequences," Akil echoed, the humor in his voice replaced by a serious edge.